Please make sure the contents of your kit are complete. Here is a selection of the necessary tools. The first stage is to assemble the LNB, BUC and feed horn. Take your LNB O-ring and place on the LNB. Then line up the rectangular slot with the waveguide and bolt in place. Take the O-ring and put in place on the BUC. Line up again the rectangular slot on the waveguide with the BUC as shown and bolt in place. This element should be completely watertight, so please check all joints are correct. Next, take your elevation and azimuth head and place on the antenna while passing the long coach bolts from the front of the antenna through the head. These 4 bolts should have a split washer and be locked off. Now, take your arms and put the longer 2 arms at the side and the shorter one at the base. The base is secured by a grub screw and the side arms are secured with a bolt, split washer and washer. Place the feed horn holder on the base arm and twist into place. The side arms are now fed into the holder and are secured with bolts and washers. To ease installation, once all the arms are in place, tighten the bolts all at once, including the grub screw on the base arm. Place the ODU on the feed horn holder and secure in place. All bolts on the antenna should now be tight and ready for installation. To establish a connection with a satellite, it is necessary to point an antenna exactly at the satellite, which is stationed at approximately 36,000 kilometers away from the Earth in geostationary orbit. There are 3 parameters that allow you to start pointing your antenna to the satellite. Azimuth, the compass direction in relation to north, which corresponds to moving the antenna left or right on the mast. Elevation, the angle between the Earth and satellite position, which corresponds to tilting the antenna up and down on the mast. Finally, polarization, which is achieved by turning the ODU or antenna in relation to the satellite. These 3 parameters can be taken from your manual or from a number of websites and are calculated from your position on Earth in comparison to the geostationary position of the satellite. Now you have your 3 parameters for your line of sight, you can start choosing your installation position. You must have a clear line of sight to the satellite position with no obstacles such as buildings or trees. A person should be prevented from getting to within a distance equal to the diameter of the antenna. You should also have approximately a 10 degrees margin between your line of sight angle and any obstructions. The final criteria for choosing a good installation position is the maximum cable distance between the modem and antenna. The normal distance is 30 meters, but can be longer depending on the type of cable. When cabling the antenna, leave a service loop of about 70 centimeters to enable the replacement of connectors. At the point of entry to the building, put in a drip loop to stop water penetration. When drilling the hole in the exterior wall, please drill down at a slight angle to prevent water penetration. you should always drill from the interior. Place the central bracket in the correct place and ensure it's exactly vertical, then secure with suitable fixations. In this case, we've used M8 raw bolts. Now, place the mast into the bracket and secure with 2 bolts inserted from the inside of the mast with nylon nuts. Attach the side arms with 1 long bolt through the mast and bolt on the sidearm feet brackets. The sidearm feet are now attached to the wall again with M8 raw bolts. The mast must be absolutely vertical to ensure the antenna elevation scale functions correctly. Fix the antenna to the mast. Normally, antennas are installed on a wall, but to allow us to film the pointing procedure, we fixed this antenna on the ground. Before you start pointing the antenna, you must preset your elevation, polarization, and finally the azimuth. In our example, we need to preset the elevation to a value of 27 degrees. So, first loosen the 4 elevation locking bolts on the head. Then adjust via the elevation bolts to the correct value. To preset your polarization angle, you turn the feed horn so that the arrow on the antenna is in line with your polarization angle, which in this case is -20. Loosen the 3 azimuth bolts on the collar and turn the antenna to the appropriate azimuth angle. Connect the analyzer to the LNB. Set the center frequency to the coverage you're looking for, which in this case is spot A at 11,472 GHz. Give the LNB 13 volts DC for A and D spots and 18 volts DC for C spot. You can now begin to locate the satellite. Once you've found the Eurobird 3 satellite, you should optimize the signal. To optimize the signal, you first adjust the azimuth by passing the maximum signal point in both directions. This way, you find the maximum signal level and fix the azimuth. Tighten the 3 collar bolts for the azimuth. Move to maximizing the elevation. Adjust the antenna by passing the maximum signal level in both directions up and down to be sure of finding the best signal level. Once you've found the best elevation angle, lock off the 4 elevation locking bolts. The last stage is to maximize the polarization and again spin the feed horn past the maximum signal point in both directions. Once you've found the best position, lock off the 2 polarization bolts. For exterior connectors, always use compression connectors if possible. Strip away the inner and outer insulation to expose the center pin and dielectric. Make sure there's no connection between the shield and the center pin. Push on the compression connector so that the dielectric is flush with the bezel part of the connector. Cut the center pin about 3 mm above the connector. Ensure there's no earthing truss touching the center pin, then compress the connector. Connect the RX and TX cables and screw tight with a spanner to ensure waterproofing. If you're using different connectors, please tape up all connectors with self-amalgamating tape. Create a drip loop from the ODU to ensure water runoff away from the connectors. Create a service loop to allow either connector replacement or even movement of antenna position. Use cable ties, normally black, which are protected against the sun. Connect your receive and transmit cables to the modem F connectors, then plug in the power connector. The RX LED will flash for a certain time, while the modem searches for the signal. Once the modem has locked to the carrier, the RX LED stays on permanently. You should first verify that the end user's computer is correctly set up. Go to Start. Go to Control Panel. Go to Network Connection. Right-click on the local area connection. Go to Properties. Go to Internet Protocol TCP/IP. Click on Properties. Check that the PC is on IP address automatically. Go to the Control Panel. Click on Internet Options. Open the Connections tab. Check the PC is on Never Dial-Up Connection. Connect your PC at this point. Once the PC is connected to the modem, open your web browser. The screen should open onto the self-activation server. Enter your company ID and your activation code twice. Press Next. The modem will reboot. After the reboot, it will say Satellite Terminal is successfully rebooted. Once this process is finished, reopen your browser and you're connected to the internet.